Hi, Genies. It's Fisher. Before we get started, just a quick thank you for getting Extreme Genes to where it is today. We're on radio stations all over America, and our podcast is growing exponentially. I'm often asked, what can I do to support Extreme Genes? Well, that's easy. Become a part of our Extreme Genes Facebook community and like our page. Share the podcast with your friends. Follow us on Twitter. And most importantly, support our sponsors through links on our website. They're the best in the business. Thanks again. Now let's get on to this week's podcast.
Are you digging up the dirt on your dead? Want to find out how? Hear the latest on new family history sources and websites with interesting and fun guests and experts. Find out what other people have been learning about their ancestors. From kings to thieves, inventors to farmers, nothing that's been discovered should surprise us anymore, but it always does. Find out what we mean. Great family history stories and information are on the way now with Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
It's been this way for generations.
Dates in the Bible don't quite match the marriage certificate. Uh-oh.
Hello, America, and welcome to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and extremegenes.com. I am Fisher, your radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. Very excited to tell you that we're actually transcribing all of our shows now so that when you hear something and you want to find out more about it, our shows are entirely searchable. And of course, you can find out more about that at extremegenes.com. Guest today, coming up in about 8 minutes, this guy from England. He gets in touch with me and tells me he's got a genealogical crime thriller that he has written. Would I like to read it? Well, okay. So we sent it, and it was incredible. And so we're going to talk to Nathan Dylan Goodwin today about how he took some history from his area and took genealogy and tied this whole thing together into an incredible genealogical crime novel. We'll be talking to Nathan from England, and then later in the show, we're going to be talking to Jessica Fairbanks. She's from Muskegon, Michigan, and not long ago, she took a deathbed confession from her dying father and took that to find an overseas sibling she didn't know she had. Right now, let's check in with Boston and our good friend David Allen Lambert, the chief genealogist for the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org. David, how are you?
Well, the snow has disappeared and it's starting to look a little bit like spring each day. And we have some exciting news here at NEHGS.
Which is?
Well, one of our listeners from Extreme Genes who lives out in Utah, Yvette Baudouin, is now working as a researcher remotely for our research service. Now, what's kind of neat about this, besides her being a listener of Extreme Genes, is that this is the first time in nearly a century at NEHGS, we've been around since 1845, has had an off-site researcher. We had the late Henry Fitzgilbert Waters in England transcribing probates. Yvette will be at the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, being our researcher on the ground there, helping us out with our research service. We're very excited about it.
Well, it's about time, David. That's great news.
Yeah, we're very excited. So a shout out to Yvette there in Utah. This next news story, I don't want you to lose your head about it, but it's got a lot of historians shaking their heads. This year marks the 400th anniversary of the great bard William Shakespeare's death. Do you know that in Stratford-on-Avon at the Holy Trinity Church, they're now doing ground-penetrating radar exams of his tomb? Want to know why?
Because?
His head's missing.
Oh, no. Now, wait a minute. How do they know that?
Well, back in 1879, an article in a magazine mentioned that his skull was taken by trophy hunter Dr. Frank Chambers, who lifted the stone, dug up the grave, and stole Shakespeare's skull. There may be something to it because from the surveys they're doing, it looks like there's been some disturbance on the stone over his grave. Now, it's interesting that one would want to do that. Have you ever heard of the warning that Shakespeare's tomb has carved upon it?
No.
And I quote, Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be ye man, thy spares these stones, and cursed be he thy moves my bones. I would not want to be the person who has that as an artifact in their china cabinet.
Right. So they knew who the guy was, and they never pursued this as a case at that time?
That's a real cold case. Maybe, you're so good at this thing. Maybe you can track down the skull. That would be a perk for the show.
Stop it.
Okay. Well, this news just kind of blew in from across the Mississippi River. A gal by the name of Jill Stowicki, who got married in 1987. She wore the dress of her mother from 1958. Now, a lot of people recycle wedding dresses,
right?
But she's very lucky. Did you hear what happened?
This is insane. Go ahead. Tell it.
There was a twister that hit her house out in Iowa, and the dress was found across the Mississippi River intact in the pristine and plastic box. Somebody posted it online, and now it's back with their rightful owner.
Isn't that great, though? I mean, if you're going to
wonderful.
get something back from your house being totally destroyed, why not a family heirloom?
Exactly. Well, I've seen a lot of things where people have the heirloom. Sometimes it's that urn with grandma in it. Well, here's a chance to put a new spin on your family's ashes. A company in England called AND Vinyl LY and Vinyl.com offers for £3,000 the effort of making up to 30 records for you, pressed from your own ashes.
Oh, stop it. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Records, you mean like a vinyl record, like a 33 or a 45 or something?
Well, they didn't say anything about 45s, but LPs, 24 minutes of news from you. You can do your last will and testament. You can make shout outs to all your loved ones, or you can make your final wishes known, and they can press these records. They can be handed out at the funeral, but guess what? They'll even go one step further. They have something called funerals, where they will actually organize your funeral. They'll send off the records. They'll play your record there. They'll speak to your guests, crack jokes, and even generally make people dance. And that only costs £10,000. So if you're going to go off, this is a new spin to your death. One of the options is that you can hear the cracking and hissing sound of a record that be considered the sound of the cremation. A little macabre, but... All right, the next is my tech tip, and this goes out to the burials overseas for American World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam vets. What you may not know, there is a free database from the American Battlefield Monuments Commission. Their website is simply www.abmc.gov. But what you may not know, you can search this database for free, find out the name, the date of death, the serial number, where the person's buried. If you are an immediate family member, you can request a free photograph, and they'll make it up as a lithograph for you and mail it for free 8 to 10 weeks after your request online. So I think that's a real nice fitting thing to get a remembrance. Speaking of databases, NEHGS at AmericanAncestors.org every week offers a free guest user database. This week is no exception, where we introduce Barbados baptism, marriages, and burials from the 18th century through 19th century. And this is in conjunction with our partnership with FamilySearch.org. And it has over 210,000 baptisms, 90,000 burials, and 31,000 marriage records that occurred in Barbados. Well, that's all I have for this week from NEHGS. I'll be reporting soon from Who Do You Think Live in Birmingham, England in a couple of weeks, and look forward to giving you all the news from across the sea.
Thank you, David. And coming up next, we're going to be talking to Nathan Dylan Goodwin. He's the author of the genealogical crime thriller, The America Ground, in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Legacy Tree Genealogists is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research, you enjoy the discoveries. LegacyTree.com.
Well, Genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need myheritage.com. Hi, Genies, it's Fisher. So excited to tell you about our very first Extreme Genes Family History Cruise, September 13th through 18th, 2016. We'll be leaving out of Boston on Royal Caribbean with stops in Bar Harbor, Maine, St. John, New Brunswick, and Halifax, Nova Scotia. On days we're at sea, join me and David Allen Lambert, Chief Genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org, for lectures and roundtables on several genealogical topics. See where your patriot ancestors fought in the Revolution, or where your loyalist ancestors claimed their new homes. For pricing, go to our Extreme Genes Facebook page or visit extremegenes.com. Now is the time to make your reservations, because when the cabins are gone, they're gone. Call Robin at Columbus Travel at 1-800-373-3328, extension 1010. And be sure to ask her about our special pre-cruise excursion in Boston. David and I look forward to seeing you. And welcome back to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, the radio root sleuth. And it wasn't that long ago, I got an email from a listener in England who said, hey, I want you to read my book. You know, once in a while, people in radio get these, and it's like, okay. So he sent the book, and it's a genealogical crime thriller. And it was just killer. It's just a terrific book. And so I'm excited to turn around and say, we've got a really good book to talk about here with its author from England, Nathan Dillon Goodwin. Nathan, welcome to Extreme Genes. Nice to have you on.
Hello. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, first of all, as something of a writer myself, and I consider myself more of an historic writer than somebody who could do a piece of fiction like this or an historical novel as this is. One of the things I look at is, what's the formula for this? How do you go back and make something that happened 150 years ago or longer matter now? And you've figured out how to accomplish that. Let's talk about how somebody might write an historical novel, and let's talk about the America Ground.
Okay. The America Ground is my fourth book in a series which features Morton Farrier. He's a modern-day genealogist, and he basically has to look back, and for each book he has to solve a crime, usually a murder that's happened in the past. And as you said, in the America Ground, this crime happened 180 years ago. It's kind of a detective formula, I guess, in that I want the reader to be trying to work it out as he goes along, to trying to figure out the ending. But he uses genealogical resources that any genealogist would also use. And so basically the formula, it's a bit of a tricky one really. It's got the detective element to it. Each book cuts back from the modern day setting, with Morton looking in archives and repositories and going to churchyards and using Ancestry and so forth online. And it cuts back to the past. So in the America Ground, that's 1820s in Hastings in southeast England. So he's got to try and solve this crime. But there's also, in each book, there's an element, a sinister element, if you like, in the modern day section, whereby somebody wants to try to stop him from doing his research. And that's the part of it that's quite tricky, because I think as genealogists, we always come up with stories in our trees and we think that would be a really good fictional story, and that's great, but then I have to look for something which makes it still relevant today, that someone would say, hang on a minute, I don't want you to research this case from 180 years ago, whatever it is. And so that's the tricky part, I guess.
Yeah, that is the tricky part, and that's what I was trying to figure out. And that's really, frankly, your genius in this. And I love the fact that you go back and forth from the modern era and Morton's working on the case to what was actually going on back then. It's almost like a parallel universe kind of thing happening. Yeah. And it's very fun for him to visit the places that you've just been talking about in the previous section and where those spots used to stand. And obviously you've done a lot of research because the America Ground is an actual place.
Yes, that's right. I come from Hastings. I was born in Hastings and lived there for the first kind of 19 years of my life. And yet I'd never heard of this area of land, which is in Hastings, called the America Ground. And basically what happened was this is kind of about 4 acres of land that was yielded up from loads of storms that happened in the 1300s. And there was this huge area of land that gradually settled. And in the 1800s, rope makers started to use it to stretch their ropes out. Then some labourers started to live there, and gradually, there was about 200 homes sprung up on this land. About 1,000 people were there, and the town of Hastings had no jurisdiction over it. They felt they couldn't tax the people for living there. They couldn't impose laws. So there was kind of this lawlessness going on there. And so basically they then tried to impose law, and these people that lived on this ground revolted and said, no, we're not going to have your taxes and your laws. And they declared themselves an independent state of America, which was kind of, I was really surprised. And so they called this land the America Ground, and they called themselves the Americans. And I don't know where they got it from, but they raised the stars and stripes, and they held out until an official inquiry was held, and the Crown felt that the land belonged to them, and they were eventually turfed off.
I would think when the Crown decides that they want that land, that's probably the settling point, right?
Yes, it was. Yes. So, but now it's you would know it. You would drive through Hastings, and it's just another area of the town with streets and houses and shops, and it's a big part of the main town. So, in my books, all my books, I try to use some element of real history in there. So the story of the America Ground, my fictional story, I use that real historical background, and it's set in a pub that was on that America Ground land back in the 1820s, which really was there. But my characters and the storyline itself is fictional. But coming back to your point about me needing to do the research, I make sure that I do exactly what Morton does. So if he goes to a churchyard, then I go to the churchyard. If he looks at a record online, that record has to exist. I don't just make up the records. Right. It's all real genealogical detail.
Unbelievable. So let me ask you this. What is your background first? Are you an historian first, or a genealogist, or a writer?
That's a tricky one to answer. I did at university. I did radio, film, and television studies, and then went on to become a primary school teacher. And while I was doing that, I did a master's in creative writing. But my genealogy, I think, would be the starting point. I've been doing it for a long time now, coming up for 20 years. So I guess that would be my starting point. And I just always, when I was doing my own family tree research, I would come across stories and things. And I just used to think this would be an amazing fictional story. It's real, but it's unbelievable. And it would make a good story. And so I guess I've pulled all those things together. I did before the fictional books, I did some factual books on Hastings. So I guess that all those elements have come together. My background writing factual books, my genealogy background, and also my master's in creative writing, they've all kind of pulled together into this series. Yeah.
I got to think there are a lot of people who, like you, have come across amazing stories, and like myself, and you go, wow, this would be a great fiction novel. And I've actually been involved with genealogy in a crime situation myself. So I know that is done. Like you say, the trick is linking it to the present day or to another situation in another timeline. At what point did you figure it out and say, wait a minute, here's how it can be done? What clicked in your mind that said, this is the key?
That's a bit of a tricky one to answer. I don't really know the answer to that. I've come up with a lot of stories that have been based in fact, and I've thought, this could make a good story. But then I've thought that would just become a kind of a standard mystery story, going through the process of solving a mystery or a crime that happened a long time ago. And I think it was reading other genealogical crime mysteries, and I thought that's the thing that's missing in my mind. It's having that element of the modern day aspect to it, if you like, where there's a threat to the modern day part. So there's a reason that someone wants Morton to not do it, because it just adds that extra layer of mystery to it, I guess.
Oh, and you have a lot of twists and turns in there. There's no doubt about it. What would be your number one tip to somebody who would be thinking of doing something along these same lines?
I think it would be to really make sure you get the genealogical aspects of it correct, because my biggest readership are genealogists, and I know full well that they like the fact that it's real, and I get lots of people saying, wow, I didn't realize that record was out there, or I didn't think about looking at this problem in such a way. So I think it would be to get that right, but also to make sure you have your fictional story in there too, so it doesn't become too genealogical.
Right.
Well, genealogy heavy, if you like.
It's got to be entertaining first, right?
Yes, exactly.
And this is not a how-to in genealogy, and it's not telling your family history. This is a genealogical crime novel. It's brilliantly put together. And where can people get a copy of this?
So it's available from most bookstores like Barnes & Noble. It's available online in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. So, yeah, just your normal outlets.
And it's called The America Ground, a genealogical crime mystery. And what are the other ones?
So the first book in the series is called Hiding the Past. Then the second book is called The Lost Ancestor. And then between The Lost Ancestor and The America Ground, there's a short novella story called The Orange Lilies. And in that one, Morton is researching his own family tree at last.
Yeah, that's right. There's an actual genealogy interest going on in this thing too. I mean, you've included everything. I think the thing I was most impressed about was the detail relating to his travels, the places he visited, the history of the area, and how you made that all live. That was the most impressive thing to me. It's like, does this man have a life? How does he have time to know all these things and to research it? You must spend a lot of time just in libraries anyway.
I do, yes. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to the Sussex Record Office just outside Brighton to do some more research for the next book in the series. I'm about halfway through. So, yeah, I do make sure I do the work first before he does. So, and lots of things come up as well from that. Rather than me sitting at my computer kind of making it all up, it's so much more fun and realistic, and so many more things you come across just by going to that record office or that library or that churchyard. So yeah, I think it's a very important part of the process.
And do you have another one coming out soon?
Yes, so I'm working on the next one now. It's about halfway through, so that should be out at some point this year. It's been quite a tricky one to write. It's taken an awful lot more research than the rest. I won't give too much away, but yes. And Morton develops more of his own family tree answers as well. He finds some answers there, so that's good.
All right, great stuff. He's Nathan Dillon Goodwin, the author of The America Ground, a genealogical crime mystery. It's great stuff. I've read it. You're going to enjoy it. He's from near Canterbury, England. Nathan, thanks for your time, and thanks for the book, too, by the way. Enjoyed it very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And coming up next, we'll talk to a Michigan woman who got a deathbed confession from her estranged father about a sibling she didn't know she had overseas. And she found him. You'll hear the whole story coming up for you next in about 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show at extremegenes.com.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Hovorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by zapthegrandmagap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
I love deathbed confessions. That's a whole other source. Hi, it's Fisher, and you are back with Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. And I am talking to a woman right now who actually has had that experience, a deathbed confession that has led to the discovery of a whole other branch of the family. Jessica Fairbanks is on from Muskegon, Michigan. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
I am absolutely astonished by your ingenuity and your determination to find out what the deathbed confession led to. Let's start with that whole story. This came from your dad, and from what I've read, you didn't have much of a relationship with him.
I didn't. Our dad, he was in my life until I was about 13 years old. And it was rough. He didn't lead a very good life. He was into drugs and he was abusive, and it wasn't a very good situation. And when I was around 13, my mom finally got full custody of us. And then me and my brother Brian, we had never seen him again after that for about 17, almost 18 years.
Wow, how sad. And then something changed. You got a little bit of news.
Yeah, we got a phone call from our uncle, who is the brother of our biological dad, telling us that our father was in the hospital. He had congestive heart failure and he was dying, and just kind of getting us the option to go and see him and talk to him one last time.
And you were willing to do that?
Yeah, a few years ago, if you would have asked me if this situation ever came up, would I have gone to see him, I probably would have said no, probably not. But for some reason, when it was actually presented to us, my brother and I both decided, yeah, we're gonna go talk to him and see him one more time.
And how did that go? Was there some tenderness there from his part, a little kind of an apology?
A little bit, more so to my older brother. When we first walked in, it was hard to recognize him. He looked very, very different. He had still been in the same lifestyle, so he was not looking very good, and plus being sick and dying. And so it was kind of surprising for us. There were a little bit of tears. He was surprised and I think probably glad to see us. We kind of made a lot of small talk, tried to just say, hey, here's where I'm at now. You know, I have this family, or just not a lot of deep talk there. But
sure.
At that time, he did talk with my brother a little bit and told him that he was sorry for things in the past.
And so he went on from there and told you one big secret that you had no idea about.
Yeah, well, this was actually the second visit, or the third visit that I had to go back to the hospital because I had to fill out some legal paperwork and things for his care because we were next of kin. So I went back another time by myself and sat and talked with him again, and I said to him, so what have you been doing all these years? Is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything I should know about before you die? And he immediately, the first thing that he brought up was, well, you need to know about your brother in Germany. You have a half-brother.
What was your initial reaction to that?
I think that I was kind of shocked for a minute, and then I quickly grabbed just whatever random thing I could find in my purse. I pulled out, it was an envelope to a card that I had gotten, and I grabbed a pen and I said, well, do you remember anything about him, his name or anything?
Trying to remain calm, right?
And trying to get all the information. I wondered how much was accurate because of his current condition, but I wrote down everything he said.
Wow. And so then you went to work on it.
He actually was still alive in a hospice facility when I decided to actively search for my brother. I decided to use social media just because things travel so quickly on the internet. First, I initially kind of just tried to Google my brother's name by myself and see what popped up. And that was all just dead end. So then I decided to go buy a big poster board and write down all the information I'd gotten from our father, which was basically his name, his place of birth, where they were in Germany at the time, our father's name, and then what my dad believed to have been his birthday. Actually ended up being a couple days off, but the month and the year were correct.
Okay.
I wrote it all out on a poster board, and I made a special email address because I didn't want to put my personal one on there.
Sure, right.
Those were kind of responses I would get. And I had my husband snap a picture of me holding this poster, and I just posted it on my personal Facebook page and asked everybody to share it.
Well, and I've seen the picture, and it's a charming picture. It's very welcoming, and I think it's a disarming picture because you just look very happy and hoping to have this reunion. And so talk about how quickly this thing moved, Jessica.
Well, immediately all of my personal Facebook friends, I noticed they started sharing, probably about 100 of them. But also I would notice in their shares they were tagging maybe somebody that they knew that either knew people in Europe or in Germany, or they were tagging people that they actually did know in Germany and saying, hey, spread this around over there, you know, this is my friend Jessica, or this is my cousin, or whatever. And so I did not know how many times it was shared. I, for some reason, couldn't see that information. I could only see my friends who shared it, but I come to find out later it was shared about 3,000 times.
Wow.
And this is only in about a day and a half period of time.
That is unbelievable. And in a day and a half, what took place?
Well, the very next morning, I posted it on a Saturday afternoon. Sunday morning, I had a message from a German newspaper in the part of Germany that he was born in, and it just said, you know, we saw your post on Facebook, and we're very interested in helping you find your brother, and we'll talk about this at our meeting on Monday, and we'll get back to you. So the rest of Sunday, I didn't hear much of anything else. Kind of a few more people shared it. And then Monday morning when I woke up, I had another message from that newspaper saying, congratulations, you found him. You've already been in contact. We heard. We just talked to him. And so initially I'm looking at it like, oh, okay, you know, someone's messing with them. Somebody's tricking them. I haven't found him yet. And then, because it was so early in the morning, I'm half asleep, I'm thinking, oh, hello, check your email address. Well, I log into that, and I'm shaking, and I get in there, and I have a message from Stephen Beckman. So I opened that up, and I read it, and he just had a couple questions about maybe if the birthday could possibly be this date instead of the one that I had posted, and what part of Germany our father lived in, and I wrote him back everything that I knew and that I was told, and very quickly we both found out and realized that this was legitimately him, and I was looking for him, and we had found each other.
In a day and a half. What a world, huh?
It was less than 40 hours from the original post till the time that I was in contact with Stephen.
So, Jessica, how has this changed your life, and how has it changed Stephen's life?
Well, the first day we talked, Stephen talked with me for a while, and I talked with his son. I have a nephew. At the end of that day, he said, I'm usually not very emotional, but I just need a little bit of time. You know, I need to go to bed or something. I think he was so overwhelmed.
Yes.
Because here I had a couple weeks from the time that my father had told me this information till the time that I made the original Facebook post. It had been almost 2 weeks probably.
You had processed it by that time.
Exactly. I had a little bit of time to think it through and prepare myself for what I may or may not find. And here we just kind of burst right into Stephen's life, and all of a sudden he has siblings and this whole connection to a father that he'd never known or met. Now, since then, we talk all the time, and mostly we communicate on Facebook Messenger, and that way he knows some English. I know no German at all. So if we are typing something to each other, we can kind of put that into Google Translate or something like that so we can translate the difference in the language. But we talk all the time. We're getting to know each other. We talk about our families. We send pictures to each other. It's just really neat getting to know each other now.
Well, Jessica, I wish we had more time. We just
Right.
don't. But what an incredible story. Congratulations on your successful efforts. And it's got to be a wonderful blessing for you and your family.
Thank you very much. It really is. I'm looking forward to meeting him soon.
Amazing work from deathbed confession to success. Coming up next for you, we're going to talk to Tom Perry from tmcplace.com, our preservation authority, answering your emails in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andMe.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andMe.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andMe.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andMe.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andMe.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andMe.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andMe.com.
Legacy Tree Genealogist is a proud sponsor of Extreme Genes. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, near the world's largest family history library, we've been working with genealogists all over the globe since 2004 to track down records, find your ancestors, and the stories that bring your legacy to life. We also analyze DNA test results, help you join lineage societies, and find missing cousins or heirs to property. Legacy Tree is the recommended research partner of MyHeritage.com and is the world's highest client-rated genealogy firm. Call us toll-free at 1-800-818-1476. Call now or register online to get a free estimate. Learn from our free genealogy tips on our blog at legacytree.com/blog. Even experienced researchers can benefit from our proven and experienced staff of specialists who can bring new approaches to old problems. Legacy Tree Genealogists. We do the research. You enjoy the discoveries. legacytree.com.
Did you know that Family Search Family Tree is available through a powerful new mobile app experience? That's right. Now you can view, edit, and even add information to ancestors in your family tree whenever and wherever you are. You no longer need to wait to get home or make a date with your computer to view or update your family tree. You can add details to your tree when visiting with family or when capturing details from a trip to the cemetery. You can share new family history discoveries from classroom settings. You can even make the most of your time when waiting for doctor appointments or car repairs. Get started today by downloading the free Family Search Family Tree app to your Apple or Android device. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to get the Family Tree app for free. Exploring and expanding your family tree has never been more convenient. Visit familysearch.org/tree app to download the Family Search Family Tree mobile app today.
It is preservation time at Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, the radio root sleuth, with Tom Perry from tmcplace.com. He's our preservation authority. And Tom, we got a lot of emails here. A lot of questions. So are you ready to give some answers?
Absolutely.
All right, let's start with this one from Kathy Craig. Kathy writes, "Hey, Tom, I'm helping flood victims recover their photos. One Kodak picture CD is messed up. Can you help me figure out how to recover the data? This is a part of a group of gift certificates that are being given to the flood victims here in Columbia, South Carolina, using my service to help them. Pro bono time, so any help you can give is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Kathy." All right, Tom, what do you say?
Hey, Kathy, that is awesome that you're going this extra mile to help these people. That's just absolutely wonderful. Okay, unfortunately, based on the photos that you included with your email that showed the picture of the disc, it appears that your discs have what they call pinholes. Pinholes, which we actually talked a little bit about last week, which has allowed water to penetrate the disc itself and has actually separated the laminate from the die, in effect. Resetting the die back to neutral versus carrying the binary codes, which we talked about, the zeros and the ones, which is required to operate. So basically, it's just messed it up. It's not like it's turned it back to zeros. It doesn't even know, is this a zero, is it one? And so unless you have like a major overscan computer, it's going to look at that and just freeze up because it will have no idea what to do. So the only way I have ever seen a disk recovered from this type of damage is to attempt to duplicate the disk in a professional duplicator, not in your home computer. I mean, you can try it, but when you're doing stuff in your home computer, I consider it a copy. It's not a true duplicate because you have software that's interfering. You have all kinds of things that are going on. Or if you go to a professional like ourselves, and I'm sure there's ones in your area that use a duplicator, there's no software involved. And what you want to do is when you go in and talk to them or send it to us, say, hey, I want this duplicated at 1 speed. And people think, well, why would you want it done at 1 speed? Because there's less chance for error. Like if you do it at 8 speed, that means it's going through your disk 8 times as it would 16 times.
Sure.
And most disks nowadays are 16 times and even ahead. But you want to go to 1 times 1, which means if it's a 2-hour disk, it's going to take 2 hours to duplicate. However, it's going to write each 0 and 1 very slowly and very carefully, and so you have a better chance of recovering the disk this way. I've had people bring in disks to us that says, hey, I can't play this anymore. And we did this. We put it on 1 times 1 and duplicated it, and it's worked. Other times it hasn't. Another thing I've heard people try, and I've never done myself, is if you have these little pinholes, sometimes if you get black fingernail polish, and on the label side, cover up where that spot is. And then when it reflects up, it'll hit the black, and hopefully you'll at least see it as a 0 versus a 1, whereas before it doesn't see anything at all. Another thing you can do is if you have a disc that's got the larger marks in it, you can try getting something metallic, which you'd go to like a car dealership and buy these. They're about the size of a fingernail polish that has like a metallic kind of paint in, a silver metallic. Those are 2 things I've seen on the internet that work to try to solve that problem. So that's what I would do first, but be really, really careful with your disc because if it started to delaminate, if you look at the disc and you can see bubbles in it, be very, very careful because just twisting the disc a little bit will make that expand.
Ooh.
Because water is really, really bad. We have in one of our stores a great big, huge saltwater tank, and I put some discs in there just to show people that we had custom printed to show them what we could do, and they started to dissolve. They actually, it totally blew my mind. It actually, the disc delaminated itself, and all the silver stuff went away. It was really strange.
Are you sure the fish weren't eating them?
Nope, there were no shark teeth marks in it at all, so I think the discs are okay. But it's funny you say that. ST, who is our shark, he likes to play with them, but he's not strong enough to delaminate, but the salt water actually damaged it. So you want to be really, really careful. If they've been through a flood, get them dried out as fast as you can. Keep them flat. I'd put like some newspaper on the top and the bottom and take care of them that way. And then after the break, we'll get at some more questions.
All right, good stuff. Coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks.
We are talking preservation at Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. Fisher here with Tom Perry from tmcplace.com, the Preservation Authority. And we're answering emails that we've received at asktom@tmcplace.com. This one, Tom, comes from Kevin Henry, Maryland Heights, Missouri. And he says, Tom, do you still have the ability to transfer 8-track tapes to compact disc?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, 8-track tapes are one of the things that you either love or hate. Why they ever came out, who knows? I think the problem is the etymology to 8-track tapes is you've been in the radio business for so long. In the old days, when you had commercials, they put them on what we called carts.
Yep, cartridges.
Yeah, they were 8-track tapes. They just had little 30 or 60-second commercials on them. You'd push the button, it'd play the commercial. Now everything's digitized on a hard drive. That's how they came up with 8-track. They actually had turntables in cars. Some of the some of the nice Studebakers, they actually had turntables in cars. And obviously they didn't work very well. And so they thought, what can we do? What can we do? I think they were actually in the process of developing cassettes, but hadn't got all the bugs worked out of it. And they go, hey, they're using these carts in studios. Why don't we take this, put more tape on it, and then we can get an hour's worth of music on it. So they thought, oh, that's a brilliant idea. Now we can see it wasn't very brilliant at all. You have all kinds of problems with 8-track tapes. They're basically what they call an endless tape.
Right.
So the two ends are actually welded together.
As carts were. Radio carts, yeah.
Exactly. The same way, so they would just go endless. So when you pick track 1, 2, 3, or 4, or all the way up to 8, they're all right next to each other. Just like if you look at an audio cassette and it plays stereo both ways, that's in essence a 4-track tape because it's reading 2 tracks going one way and then 2 tracks coming the back way. 8 tracks were the same thing. They had 8 tracks, so they're all in parallel. So if you have a problem with one track or a beep or somehow somebody said on top of your great big monster speakers in the old days, it would make an erase mark on it. And so you're going to have this problem on all 8 tracks at that spot. But the problem is the glue they used back in those days wasn't very good.
No. In fact, a lot of the old broadcast cartridges would fall apart on us all the time, or they'd break.
Oh, absolutely. Just the labor to fix them is incredible. And so what happens, that glue comes off, and then you see neither end. And fortunately, some of the carts, if you flip them over, they have these little grab pins on them, so you can open them, go in and fix them, but a lot of them don't. A lot of people back in the days, back in the 60s, they actually recorded on 8 tracks, just like we did on cassettes. So they've got Grandma's Funeral on it or family history things on it. The tape disappeared into the cartridge.
Oh, wow.
So what happens is we have to open it, and if it doesn't have those tabs, if it's the kind that's sonically glued together, we have to actually surgically open the cartridge so we can get at the tape, and then we can't glue it back together, so we have to find a donor shell. So we have to go find some old obscure music that nobody cares about. And I've gone to stores and bought old 8 tracks for, $5 a piece. But I look at them, I don't care what's on them. I just want the shell.
Right.
And so I find the shell so that way I'm able to go and fix it for the customer. So then they've got their 8 track again. In fact, one of these days I want to actually videotape with my GoPro how to fix one of these and put it up on the
we'll
website.
have to do it. We'll have to do it. That'd be really fun to try.
Oh, it is. It's time consuming. That's why it's so expensive to fix. But once you have them done, they're going to be better than they were before. And every time I have one come in to fix, I bring all these teenagers and these kids that are even in their 20s and 30s, say, hey, come look at this thing. And they're going, huh? Why did they ever design that or build that? And I go, I have no clue. So
the bottom line is, yes, you can put it on a CD.
Yes, we can absolutely put on a CD. In fact, we actually even make 8 tracks for people that have collector cars.
Good stuff. Thanks so much, Tom.
Thank you.
And if you have a question for Tom Perry, you can ask Tom at tmcplace.com. Well, what did we learn today? We learned that Shakespeare's head may be missing. We found out about a woman who, in less than 2 days, found a half-sibling she didn't know existed except for the deathbed confession of her father. We found out about genealogical crime novels. We didn't even know people did that. I mean, it's been a great show. If you've missed any of it, catch the podcast at extremegenes.com, iTunes, or iHeartRadio's Talk channel. I'm Fisher. Talk to you again next week. Thanks for joining us. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.